Hello to the pessimistic, optimistic, and everyone in between. My name is Connor Philippi, and welcome back to the Minnesotan Sports Podcast. And it is week 12. It is Thanksgiving week. So there's going to be a lot of interesting things going on. Multiple games on Thursday, as always. And then there's actually a Friday game for Black Friday this year. The first time they're doing that. But before that, I want to wish all of you a happy Thanksgiving. Whether you celebrate it or not, regardless of what it is you're doing on that day. Hopefully that can be a day of rest and relaxation for you if you have that day off and you don't celebrate it, whatever. But just enjoy that day if you do celebrate it. Hopefully you have some time to spend with family and friends and just have a good day. Without further ado, let's get into these predictions. And we start with the Packers at Lions. This might be the first, I can't remember the last time the Lions had a Thanksgiving game that they hosted that they were favored. The Lions are up 7.5 is the line for the Lions to win this game. And so it really went to a full extreme where all of a sudden the Lions are heavily favored to win on a Thanksgiving Day. And it's been a while since we've seen them get the job done on a Thanksgiving Day. And they're going up against a Packers team that just had a nice win against the Chargers. But I think they've reached their peak this season where they're capable of being that sneaky team to pull off the upset, but that's about as much as they're capable of doing. I see this team being a 6-7 win team by the end of the season. The Lions putting on a show. They feed off of this energy of the home crowd and of the Thanksgiving atmosphere. So I think the Lions will win this game. I think it's actually going to be a little bit of a blowout here. You'd think with it being Thanksgiving and with it being a division rivalry that it would be more of a close game. But I don't know. I have a good feeling the Lions are going to get ahead of this game early and use the running game to pull ahead. So Lions win big for the first game of the Thanksgiving slate. And then we have the Commanders and Cowboys. This is a game that is not going to be close as well. That's unfortunate. Usually the Thanksgiving games aren't close because the Lions are one of the teams that gets killed every year. But this year, the Lions are going to kill their team most likely, and then the Cowboys and the Commanders. Cowboys, again, continue to be one of the more prolific regular season teams in the last few years. I don't know if that's going to continue in the playoffs necessarily, because it usually doesn't. But the Cowboys, I just don't see them winning this game or losing this game at home. They are 4-0 at home this year, and the Commanders are just looking worse and worse as the season goes on. So I'm going to go with the Cowboys to win big. Their line is 11. I think they're going to cover that at home against the Commanders at 3:30. And then the Thanksgiving night game, the 49ers at the Seahawks. This is a sneaky good game. The Seahawks, I feel like their 6-4 record isn't exactly indicative of how up and down their season has been, because there's been games where they've put up impressive performances. There's also been games where they have not looked like a good team at all, and they just recently lost to the Los Angeles Rams. And that's pretty embarrassing. The 49ers, I've said this before and I'll say it again, I'm not going to pick them to lose the rest of the season unless they put up some really bad performances down the stretch. This defense is just too good, and I don't think the Seahawks can match with them. I don't think hardly any teams besides maybe the Eagles and maybe the Lions or Chiefs could match up with them at this point in time. So barring any setbacks, any injuries, any really bad performances, I'm not betting against the 49ers this year for the rest of the regular season at least. So give me the 49ers in this matchup. And then we have the Black Friday game, Friday at 2 p.m. it is, which is just a weird time. But the Dolphins and the Jets will play. So Dolphins getting some prime, I guess you'd call it a prime time slate because it's the only game going on that day, but just a weird time to have it on a Black Friday when I feel like there's some people that have work off on the day after Thanksgiving. I do, but I don't think a lot of people do. So interesting to have a game at 2 p.m. But anyway, getting into the actual game, the Jets, they're going to be starting Boyle in over Wilson. That's how bad Wilson has been playing. And the Dolphins offense continues to be prolific. I think this is going to be a really rough one and another primetime game that's going to end in a really boring blowout. So I think the Dolphins will win this one, improve to 8-3, and continue to have one of those top seeds in the AFC. Saints and Falcons. This is another one where the division could honestly be won with this matchup. Obviously, the Bucks are still looming, but I don't think they're gonna catch up at this point. I think the Saints are right now the clear favorite to win this division. The Falcons can change that though with a convincing win at home. Right now, Atlanta's actually a -1 favorite to win this game. I don't know about that. I think the Falcons have had so many issues with the quarterback position that I don't have confidence in them to be able to carry the rest of the way and win this division, even as bad of a division as it is. I say the Saints win this game. It'll be close, of course, but the Saints will get one step closer to potentially winning the worst division in football right now in the NFC South. The Steelers play the Bengals. This might be rough for the Bengals as the Steelers' offense is just bad, but their defense has been amazing. Been one of the best defenses we've seen in the last few years, honestly. They just held the Browns to 13 points, and of course they lost that game. But I don't see Jake Browning getting the Bengals to any more than 10 in this game. The way the defense has been playing for the Steelers, I say this is another weird, 17-10 or 17-13 type win for the Steelers, and the Bengals, especially with Joe Burrow out, are not going to be able to handle the Steelers defensive front. Panthers at Titans. The Panthers, it's kind of the opposite situation as the 49ers, where the Panthers, I can't really pick them to win unless they show me something that they're capable of winning. Bryce Young with 9 TDs and 8 interceptions, almost losing the TD to interception ratio, which is really difficult to do as a starting quarterback in the NFL. The Titans, not great either. If I could pick a game where the Panthers would win it, it would be this one, but I can't pick the Panthers. They're in full tank mode, even if they do get the number 1 pick this year, it's going to the Bears. So sucks for them, but the Panthers are in full tank mode. Well, not tank mode. They're just in full rebuild mode. They suck. I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm not putting it right, but yeah, I can't pick the Panthers at any point the rest of this season, honestly. So I say the Titans will win it purely by default. Next up, we have the Buccaneers at the Colts. The Buccaneers, like I just mentioned, with a battle with the Falcons and the Saints, every win for them is important right now, and they're going up against a Colts team that is 1-4 at home. They're 5-5 overall and 1-4 at home. So it's just a weird situation there. Baker Mayfield actually not playing too badly, 15 TDs and 6 interceptions. The Buccaneers are still not favored to win this game, though. It's a tough decision, but I think the Bucs win. And I think that because I think the Colts at 5-5 have less to play for. I don't think they feel like they have much of a shot to make the playoffs, whereas the Buccaneers, even though they have a worse record than the Colts, they know that they have a legitimate shot to win their division, and I think that's really, in games like this, where you've got a team that sucks at home versus a team that has more to play for but might not be as good, it's a weird combination of things, and usually the team that has more to play for comes out on top with these kinds of games, so I'm going to give this one to the Buccaneers. They'll improve to 5-6. Patriots-Giants, this is going to be a rough one to watch. Anyone that has this on their TV, I am sorry, as Mac Jones, with 10 TDs and 10 interceptions, goes into New York with a team that's no longer led by Daniel Jones. So it's tough to even make a pick for this game. I feel like this is the kind of game that Belichick will find a way to win against a bad team. They are a bad team in and of themselves too, but I don't know. I guess I'm going to give the edge to Belichick in this one. It's one of those games that doesn't really matter. Next up, we've got the Jaguars and the Texans. This should be one of the games of the week, like one of the best games, most anticipated games of the week, because you have the Jags coming in. They're 7-3, but they really haven't played anyone really that good yet. They haven't had any impressive wins to show that they, deserve to be in that conversation for a serious Super Bowl contender. And they are 4-0 away, whereas the Texans are 4-1 at home. Texans coming into the season not expected to do much at all, and now they're 6-4. This could be a major game in deciding this AFC South, and it's going to be difficult. I don't know. I feel like the Jags haven't shown me enough to prove that they can go in against a 6-4 team, a team that's in the playoff picture after the teams they played and beat them. I'd need to see if the Jags win this game, especially if they win it handily, then I'll start to believe in them more. But that 7-3 record doesn't mean much to me right now until they can take care of business. I say the Texans win this game and shock some people and take that spot in first place in the division. Browns at Broncos is the next one. This is a game that a few weeks ago wouldn't have been very highly anticipated, would have looked like a game that didn't even matter. But the Broncos have shown serious resurgence, including beating my Vikings. Hate that happened with Sean Payton being the coach of that team. But this should be a really interesting game because you've got the Broncos. Their defense has been a lot better. They've been taking a lot of risks and getting a lot of turnovers, and winning that turnover battle has been the key for them. That should make things really difficult for DTR and might lead to a good number of interceptions. Whereas the Browns' defense has been incredible all season long and is going to pose a serious threat to Russell Wilson and that pass rush. It's going to be really interesting to see how that works out. I'm going to go with the team that has been the hottest in general this season, and that's the Browns. The Broncos are ascending, don't get me wrong, and they are favored to win this game. I just feel like the Browns defense is going to do better against this Broncos team than the Vikings, and the Vikings almost found a way to beat this Broncos team. This offense for Denver is better, but it's still not great, and you need a great defense to take down this Browns defense. I got to go with the Browns in this matchup, but I think it should be close, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Broncos find a way to get this one. Rams and Cardinals. I am going to go with, this is another game that doesn't matter that much. Rams trying to fight for a playoff spot here. I think I'm going to give them to the Rams. Rams 4-6. They have to beat out the Vikings right now that are 6-5. They understand they got some ground to cover. The Cardinals are in full rebuild mode. I got to go with the Rams in that game. Chiefs and Raiders. This is a game where I feel like if the Chiefs hadn't just lost to the Eagles, this could be a serious trap game. It is still a trap game because the Raiders have been that team all season long where they've been sneaky and they've found ways to beat teams when they aren't expecting them to play as well as they do. For the most part, they're not that great of a team, but they have that way of sneaking up behind you when you underestimate them and beating you. Kind of like the Broncos a few years ago where they weren't a good team, but they were always right there against some of the best. You'd think that this would be a trap game for the Chiefs, but because they just lost in a really rough way to the Eagles, they're going to have an extra chip on their shoulder. Mahomes having another good season, and one of the keys for the Raiders has been Josh Jacobs, and getting him involved is going to be difficult against the Chiefs offense that's probably going to end up scoring first. And when the Raiders are playing from behind, that's when it's really rough for them. So I think the Chiefs are going to end up winning this one. I don't expect it to be close either, honestly. We got the Bills and the Eagles. This is a really intriguing matchup because we know the Bills are still capable of competing. And it's going to be a really tough stretch for them going forward. They're going to have to win some of these games against some really good teams if they're even going to have a shot at making the playoffs. Allen with great numbers and then also not great numbers. 2,875 yards and 22 TDs, but then those 12 interceptions. He takes a lot of risks. Sometimes they pay off, sometimes they really bite him. And this is an Eagles team that has a really good core of guys that does a great job at taking advantage of mistakes. So it might be tough for Josh Allen in this game. DeAndre Swift has actually been running the ball really well for the Eagles. I'm going to go with the Eagles here at home. I honestly would be really tempted to go with the Bills if this was a home game for the Bills, but just such a hostile environment with Josh Allen kind of having some lack of confidence right now, as well as just making a lot of mistakes. I don't think it bodes well for the Bills in this game and for the rest of the season with all these tough teams they have to face. So I'm going to go with the Eagles. They'll improve to 10-1 and be 5-0 at home after that win. And that leads us to Sunday Night Football, Ravens at Chargers. And ladies and gentlemen, drumroll please. This is my upset of the week pick. And I know you're thinking, Connor, you cannot do this again. You can't keep picking the Chargers. I know I'm trying to will this into existence. I don't think they're gonna make the playoffs this year, but I have to keep trying, right? Justin Herbert throwing for 2,609 yards, 19 TDs, and 5 interceptions. He's still going to find a way to be blamed for whatever losses come their way the rest of the season. If Herbert can just find a way, if the rest of the team can find ways to pick Herbert up, catch some passes, and if this defense that is highly paid and has a lot of big names on it can actually start playing as well as they're supposed to, this Chargers team can win some games. And the Ravens are another one of those teams where it's really tough to see. Are they really legit? There's some times we've seen them waver, even on defense. I just don't know. I feel like at home, it doesn't mean much for the Chargers at home because the other team always invades their stadium anyway. I don't know. I think that Justin Herbert can find a way to overcome the Ravens. Chargers have kind of been Raven killers as of late, for some random reason. So I'm gonna go with the Chargers as the upset of the week. I always do a separate preview of the Vikings game for the week. So the Monday Night Football game between the Vikings and the Bears, I'm gonna do a separate prediction for that. But just to give you a little bit of a hint, I do have the Vikings winning the game. But make sure you watch that video all the way through to see why I think that, as the Vikings, coming off of a rough loss to the Broncos, really need this win to stay alive. But anyway, that does it for this video. Please let me know in the comments what you think about these games, which games you're most excited to watch, some predictions you have. Maybe you disagree with some of my predictions. I'm perfectly fine debating in the comments about your opinions about these predictions. And yeah, should be a really fun week. Have a happy Thanksgiving, and hopefully you eat a lot of food and watch some football throughout the week. So thanks a lot for watching this one. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the flip side.